welcome back to Loopy Mabel's Closet. I'm Jane. So today's vlog is all about my latest Felicity Fabrics make. I've designed a new dress and I called it the Felicity Dress, which I've dedicated to the lovely ladies of Felicity Fabrics, and I thought I'd share it with you, show you everything that I did with it and see what you think, so stay tuned. Hi, welcome back, and if you've just found my channel, please hit the subscribe button and the bell, and then you'll never miss out and you can follow along with me in my sewing journey. And yeah, so if you don't already know, I blog for Felicity Fabrics, part of their blogger team, and I blog for them every 2 months or so. They send me my choice of fabric and a pattern if I want, and obviously I make something for them and do a blog post. So you can see the details of my latest blog post over on their website, and I'll put a link for it in the box below if you fancy having a read. And yeah, so I picked some fabric. So the fabric I chose, I'll put a picture up of it so you can see a little bit close up in detail. Obviously I'll show you the finished version. Was this gorgeous rose pink herringbone fabric. Looks like wool, feels like wool, but there's no wool in it at all. It consists of 60% poly, 35% viscose and 5% spandex, and it was absolutely amazing to sew with. It didn't fray, you know, like wool tends to fray. This did not fray one little bit, and I handled it quite a lot, let me tell you. So I wanted to make something for them, and I wanted to dedicate a pattern, a dress pattern, to Caroline and Fliss, because they're such lovely ladies to work for. They're so generous, so kind, so thoughtful. And I thought, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a designer dress and I'm going to call it the Felicity Dress. Just dedicate it to them. So I drew a little sketch, and I'll show you my sketch, and I can't draw, so, but that's my sketch. So I wanted like an A-line fitted bodice type of dress with a button band down the front, V-neck with a couple of darts and some ruffles around the neck, and some side pockets with some ruffles on the side pockets. So that's what I wanted to do, but when I never considered a fabric at all. So when I came to actually make the Felicity dress, I thought I'd do a toile first. So here is Mabel behind me, and she is wearing just a calico toile. So I've just literally stitched the pieces together to get an idea. It all went lovely. I did half of the neckband in with a ruffle, and I just used some contrasting tape. It was just purely so I could see what it looked like. I couldn't do the V. I wanted a V-neck. I just couldn't get the V-neck to sit right with all the ruffles. It just didn't work. I couldn't get it to sit nicely, so I changed it to the scoop neck, which I quite like actually. On the toile, I had this picture, I had this vision in my head, like in my book, on my sketch. I wanted to replicate the frill and add it to the pockets. I just wanted to, you know, bring the frill in somewhere else. I didn't just want the frill on the neck. So with the calico I used, I got the frill on and I had the frill going that way, but I knew that wouldn't work. I just thought that's going to flop about a bit. So really I wanted it to sit that way, which I could have done. I could have added some binding and stitched it so it actually sits flat, and there would be stitched into the seams. And I wanted the frill as well to be sitting that way, like my picture. So as you can see, I've got the frills coming down and again on the pockets, but fine with the calico. But when it came to using this wool, it was far too thick, and I never considered that at all. So, but I knew I had to continue because that's the fabric they sent me, and this is the design I wanted to work on. But in hindsight, the fabric is just not the right fabric for the Felicity dress. But I carried on. So the toile went on, just fitted together perfect, and all the seams fitted lovely. Just turn Mabel round. I managed to, I didn't quite get my darts lined up on the calico, but it was really for the size, to make sure the size fitted, and I managed to get the darts lined up properly actually on the real thing. And you can see with my pen I lowered the sleeve line a little bit more on the actual finished garment, because I wanted it to be more like a pinafore type of top part rather than higher up dress type of armhole. So I lowered the sleeve line. Listen to me, I sound like some fashion designer, don't I? But anyway, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm learning. So, and obviously I wanted the button band. So the toile went fine, so it all fit lovely. So then I moved on to the fabric. So I'll show you the fabric. Missed a bit of cotton there. So I'll show you the fabric closer up. So it's really gorgeous fabric, but as I say, it's far too thick. It did work out okay in the end. I'll pop loads of pictures up of me wearing it, but yeah, it's like I say, it's far too thick. Ideal for an airline skirt or a dress without the ruffles. It was just too thick for the ruffles. I wanted to do a double, like a double ruffle, but it was just too thick. So I had to do a single ruffle, so it's got like, it's hemmed. And I wanted the ruffle obviously to lay flat. It was just, I couldn't do it. As I say, the fabric was too thick. So to reduce that bulk that it created, I obviously had to do a single ruffle and then have the ruffle coming outwards rather than sitting down, because obviously I would have had to stitch it all down and it would have been too bulky. And I could not get on the pocket, I couldn't get the ruffle to sit nicely at all because it was just too thick, and I had to take it off completely, which isn't what I wanted. So I'll stand up a bit and show you. So, and the button band is far too thin. I don't know what I was doing with the calculation of the button band. It's completely wrong, but it works. It does work, but it's far too thin. So when I come to actually master the pattern a bit better, it will have a much wider button band. The frill will actually be going down, I think, on the neckline, and I will have the frill on the pocket, but obviously the fabric compositions will be a lighter fabric, like a linen chambray type of fabric. But yeah, but apart from that, super pleased with it. Got the A-line skirt, and then obviously I just used pretty binding, because obviously this fabric was far too thick to add a self-binding, so I just used a pretty floral binding on the neck. And then to reduce again the bulk on the pockets, I just lined the pockets in a pretty fabric for the pockets, because it was just far too much bulk. But I was disappointed because I really wanted the ruffle on the pockets, because I just thought it'd just give it that extra something special. But that's my own fault, because I did not consider the fabric composition, the weight, the drape, the thickness, anything like that. I just went gung-ho, as I always do, and then realised afterwards. But I know the pattern works, it fits lovely, and I'm super pleased with it. So I'm going to make it again. Obviously I'm going to have to make it again anyway, as part of like research into it for future pattern down the line, to see what fabrics it goes well with. But yeah, but overall I'm really pleased. It's a really pretty dress, really pretty design. And I'll pop it on to Mabel so you can see what it looks like on Mabel. So I popped it on to Mabel's just so you can see a little bit better. Obviously I've got pictures up of me wearing it, but you can see it a little bit better as well. So that's what it looks like. I'm really pleased with it. It's really worked out really nice. I managed to get my darts lined up almost perfectly on the front and the side seams. Not quite perfectly on the back, so a little bit out there, so I need to maybe look at that, adjust my darts. Maybe I haven't quite got my dart widths right there. You've got to be accurate obviously, and I'm a couple of millimetres out on one of the darts, so I need to go back to my pattern and make sure both the darts are spot on. But apart from that, managed to get the side seams lined up lovely, and obviously there's my pocket with the pocket bag, the pocket lining, and obviously I've lowered the armhole, and I think it's got a lovely silhouette. I'm really pleased with it. I mean, I love the ruffle, but I wanted it to lie flat, so I'm going to have to do a bit of research on maybe getting it to lie that way. But obviously I couldn't do it because the fabric was far too thick, so I had to do single ruffle, which is, it's neat, it's lovely, it's finished lovely, but it's much neater, for example, on my primrose dress. I'll show you. On my primrose dress, where it's a double ruffle, so you can't see any like hemmed edges or anything like that, and that's what I wanted on there, but I wanted it to sit downwards. And obviously it's just a work in progress, so I just need to tweak it a bit here and there to get it absolutely perfect before I even go down and make it into a pattern for everybody. And obviously the button band is far too thin. When I was cutting it out, I realised, I thought, Jen, you've obviously done your calculations wrong. I think what I did wrong was I should have doubled my button band. I took the measurements, and I think didn't think I doubled them over to take into account that it's going to fold over underneath at the back. So it was quite a wide button band, but obviously by the time I folded it over, it turned into a thin button band. But if I'd have done it double, obviously it would have been the width that I wanted. I wanted it quite a decent button band, but there you go. It works, no except me, and obviously you guys, because I've told you now. But yeah, and I've just added those wooden buttons because I didn't, buttons, it's hard to get buttons. I'm not going to buy buttons online because just for a few buttons, because they cost more than in postage until I can go to my local haberdashery shop. So I just put those wooden ones on, and they look okay. And obviously Caroline and Fliss were over the moon with me, obviously calling it the Felicity dress. They absolutely loved it, but the fabric is absolutely, it's totally weird because it feels like wool, it looks like wool, literally feels like wool, and it does not fray at all. Absolutely beautiful to work with, beautiful to handle. I mean, the amount of times I pulled this out and tweaked it and put it back in and pulled it out and put it back in, not one part of it seriously frayed at all. I didn't lose any of my notches, because sometimes when you pull things out a few times and your notches end up disappearing into the frayed mess. None of that. So yeah, really, really nice fabric, and you can get this. I think they've got it in two shades. They've got the lovely grey, which I almost went for, and this rose pink. So beautiful fabric. And as I say, I'll list Felicity Fabrics in the box below if you want to go and have a look at their fabrics, because they do have really special fabrics on their site. But yeah, so that's my Felicity dress. It's not perfect, but I'm quite thrilled with it as it is, and it's turned out really well in for a first attempt, straight off my blocks. And obviously I did my toile just to make sure for the sizing, but yeah, obviously different fabric, and I think it'll be a whole different kettle of fish. And obviously get the ruffles there. I want the ruffles there, just like my calico toile. I just think it just gives it, can you see, it just gives it just something extra, and that's what I wanted. So I've got to work on getting that. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed my video. Hope you like my Felicity dress. Let me know what you think in the box below. As I say, there's a full blog post over on Felicity Fabrics if you fancy going over there and having a read, more pictures and what have you. And yeah, I'll definitely be wearing it. But it just needs a few tweaks here and there just to make it perfection, and then I can obviously put it on my pile of patterns that I'd like to get published eventually down the line. So thumbs up if you enjoyed today's video, and don't forget to subscribe if you've just found me and you want to follow along with all my dressmaking. But until the next time, I shall see you on my next sewing video. Take care for now, and happy sewing.